Good morning, and welcome to Redeemer Lutheran Church. I'm Pastor Gary Lodeholt. There's a quote generally attributed to Mark Twain that goes, "Everybody complains about the weather, but nobody does anything about it." We tend to chuckle at that line a bit because we know we can't really do anything to change the weather in our favor. If we have a picnic planned and it rains, well, it rains and we can't stop it. This week we are talking about all the miracles, and the miracles of Jesus over nature are some of the most striking miracles of all. Other miracles might have rational explanations or be replicated, but Twain was right. Nobody controls the weather except Jesus. Yesterday I mentioned that the miracles of Jesus can fit into four basic categories. Miracles over nature, miracles of exorcism, miracles of healing, and miracles of resurrection. Today, our focus is on miracles over nature. The Gospel of Mark is very helpful, and at one point puts these four different kinds of miracles right next to each other, and so we will use these stories to guide the rest of our week. We begin with Mark 4:35 through 41, the story of the stilling of the storm. As Mark tells it, on that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd behind, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. Other boats were with him. A great windstorm arose, and the waves beat into the boat, so that the boat was already being swamped. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion, and they woke him up and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" He woke up and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." Then the wind ceased, and there was a dead calm. He said to them, "Why are you afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great awe and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" There is much to note in this story. First of all, the Sea of Galilee sits in something of a bowl-like depression ringed with hills. So it was not unusual for unseen storms to suddenly crest some of the hills and rush down the slopes and strike the lake with ferocity. That would not be unusual. However, this storm must have been unusually fierce. Many of the disciples were fishermen on this lake, and they would have been familiar with the Sea of Galilee's storms and how to manage the boat. Nevertheless, even these seasoned fishermen are alarmed and afraid. It must have been a fierce storm indeed. Somehow, Jesus is asleep while all this is going on. It is interesting to note that Jesus got tired and needed sleep. Jesus was divine, but Jesus was also fully one of us. The demands of people on him made him tired. He needed sleep, just like we need sleep. And if he was asleep in this storm, he must have been very tired and in a deep sleep. They woke Jesus, and Jesus simply spoke to the wind and the waves and said, "Peace, be still." And it was. And the story ends leaving us with the same question the disciples had. Who is this? The answer can be none other than Christ the Lord. One of my favorite paintings is by Rembrandt, and it's called "The Storm on the Sea of Galilee." Some years ago, this painting was stolen from a museum, and it has yet to be recovered. The painting shows a small boat tossed by the waves amid dark clouds. The disciples are in the boat, some trying to control the sails or rudder, others waking Jesus, and at least one vomiting over the side of the boat. Jesus is an eye of serenity in the boat. It's a nice painting of this miracle story just before the miracle happened. Only, if you count the people in the boat along with Jesus, you'll find that there are 13. You might expect that there should be 12 disciples plus Jesus. So why are there 13 plus Jesus? Scholars have determined that Rembrandt painted himself into the painting, sitting near Jesus. Rembrandt seems to be saying that in the storms of life, the only source of help and hope is to be near Jesus. Thanks for watching, and remember to let this day belong to God.